I'll tell you this the way it really felt. Not like some polished speech, but like a guy sitting across the table from you with a cup of coffee, trying to explain how his dream house nearly turned into the worst mistake of his life. So picture this. After years of saving, years of putting off vacations and eating ramen when I didn't have to, I finally bought myself a mountain cabin. Not a fancy one, just a solid little place tucked away in the pines, the kind of spot you imagine when you say, someday, I'll get away from it all. I drove up there with my toolbox and a head full of renovation plans, thinking the next chapter of my life was about to begin. Instead, the very first words I heard when I opened the door were, "This is HOA property now." Now, let me tell you, nothing can prepare you for walking into your own house, the one you just signed your name on, the one you've been paying mortgage and insurance for, and seeing a stranger ironing in your kitchen like she's the one on the deed. Groceries in the fridge, family photos on the mantle, her coffee mug sitting on the counter like she'd lived there for years. And she had the nerve to wave a badge around like she was some kind of mountain sheriff. I swear, in that moment, I didn't know if I should laugh, cry, or just flip the table. Her name was Caroline Bishop, mid-50s, apron over jeans, looked more like somebody's aunt than a villain. But the confidence, man, she had it rehearsed. Pulled out her phone, called HOA security, and told them she had a trespasser in the dwelling. Yeah, I was the trespasser in the house I just bought. I pulled out my paperwork, title, closing docs, insurance, all of it, slapped it right on the counter. She barely glanced at it. With that same practiced tone, she started talking about emergency oversight and caretaker authority because the previous owners had died without leaving arrangements. According to her, the HOA had stepped in, declared the property abandoned, and until the fire risk was handled, she had every right to live there rent-free. And then, just when I thought I could push her out myself, a sheriff's deputy showed up, looked at my papers, looked at her badge, and basically shrugged. "This is civil, not criminal. You'll need to take it through the proper channels." And just like that, Caroline stayed put, while my renovation permit got frozen and my 15 grand in contractor deposits slipped right into limbo. I thought I was losing my mind, but that night I went to see Harold, the old guy who lived down the road. Retired accountant, sharp as a tack. He spread my documents on his coffee table, adjusted his glasses, and told me something that still makes my stomach turn. "I've seen this before," he said. "Your purchase is clean, but Caroline? She's been living in that place for nearly 2 years, getting paid $800 a month by the HOA as a so-called caretaker. $19,000. That's how much she'd pocketed. And she'd been pulling the same trick with other empty homes in the neighborhood. Elderly owners pass away, properties sit empty, and suddenly there's an emergency caretaker who just happens to move in. At that point, I knew it wasn't just me versus her. It was me versus a whole system that had decided my money didn't matter. So I took everything Harold and I found to the county office. The inspector there, Mr. Whitman, was this gray-haired, tired-eyed guy who looked like he'd seen every excuse in the book. I laid my stack of legal proof in front of him. But Caroline, oh, she didn't just show up. She waltzed in with a tablet full of glossy photos and stamped documents, talking like a lawyer who'd practiced in the mirror all night. Fire hazards, loose railings, dangerous outlets. She had evidence for everything. The inspector said it was too messy to decide right there and scheduled a site visit. And Caroline smiled at me like she'd already won, whispering, "Once he sees the hazards, you'll look reckless compared to me." That smile, I still remember it. Next morning, the inspector, Harold, and I met her at the cabin. She went straight into performance mode, shaking a deck railing so it wobbled, pointing out burn marks on outlets, even showing pictures of piled brush by the foundation. But when we looked closer, none of it added up. The bolts on the railing were finger loose, like someone had unscrewed them on purpose. The outlets were fine, no scorch marks. The guttering she claimed was damaged had fresh tool scratches like it had been tampered with. And then, jackpot, the inspector found a notebook stuffed behind the cleaning supplies. Handwritten instructions, loosen railing bolts, pile brush before inspection, remove outlet covers for photos. She hadn't just staged the evidence. She'd literally written herself a sabotage checklist. Whitman slammed the binder shut, looked her dead in the eye, and said, "Your authority here is terminated effective immediately." My permits were restored, my ownership rights confirmed, and for the first time in months, I felt like maybe I could breathe again. But here's the thing. People who go that far don't just walk away. That same night, Harold and I heard noises behind the cabin. We circled around and caught her, cordless drill in one hand, saw in the other, literally cutting through the platform supports. If my contractors had stepped on it the next morning, the whole deck could have collapsed under their weight. That wasn't oversight. That wasn't fraud paperwork anymore. That was attempted sabotage. I recorded the whole thing while Harold called 911. When the deputy arrived, Caroline tried to spin another story about documenting hazards, but with the fresh sawdust on the ground and the half-cut beams, she was done. Arrested on the spot. 3 weeks later, I sat in the courthouse hallway while she shuffled past in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs clinking where her HOA badge used to hang. The prosecutor laid it all out. Fraud, property damage, endangerment, theft of HOA funds. The judge didn't buy a single excuse. 18 months jail, 2 years probation, full repayment of every dime she'd collected, plus all my renovation delays, mortgage, contractor fees, you name it. And here's the kicker. The HOA itself got dragged into an audit, stripped of their shady caretaker program, and ordered to clean up their books. For once, the system actually did what it was supposed to. Fast forward a few months, my deck's rebuilt, the kitchen's modern, the cabin finally looks like the retreat I dreamed of. Harold checks in daily, and we sit on the porch some evenings laughing at the irony. Caroline's repayments basically funded the whole renovation. In a twisted way, she ended up paying for the house she tried to steal. But I'll be honest, some nights I still hear echoes of her voice in my head. This is HOA property now. And I wonder, how many other people out there never had a Harold, never had an inspector willing to dig, never caught the sabotage before someone got hurt? So tell me, was justice served here? Or was this just one small win against a bigger system that still finds ways to steamroll ordinary folks? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because I've been living with this question ever since. Was she just one desperate woman trying to hold on to control, or was she part of something bigger that we'll never fully see? And hey, if you've ever tangled with an HOA, you know the drama doesn't end when the gavel drops. So hit that subscribe, share this story with someone who needs a reminder that ownership still matters, and let me know, what would you have done if you walked into your dream home and found someone else ironing in the kitchen like they belonged there?